Welcome to the Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show we'll have a talk about a Linux project, such as a distribution, a desktop environment, or application. We also chat about the news or any variety of topics from the community. I think it's Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. That was my radio pukey voice. I'm Nate, a Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project. With me today, I got a fantastic panel of people. I got a whole bundle of you from the StormOS group. I got Ben,
Hello.
Catherine, Matt, Seeker, Jonathan, then some regular faces here, Colin, Cruz, Jinda, Swift, and the venerable Adam Grubbs. How is everybody?
Excellent.
Good.
Having a great day.
I had nachos, so I'm all right.
Nachos.
It's a good day.
Yeah.
Nachos.
Now, okay. So before we move on there, I can't just let that one slide past. So when you do nachos, do you mean like you got? Are we talking like, when you go to like a sports ball game where you get the little nacho thing on the side with chips, or do you have like some kind of a fancy, got everything under the sun on it, or somewhere in between?
So what we do is we got like the bed of chips, right?
Uh-huh,
And
yep.
we use like flavored tortilla chips, so they're like taco flavored tortilla chips.
Yep. Oh man.
And then
spare no
we
expense.
melt the cheese,
Uh-huh.
and then after the cheese is all melted, we add in like the tomatoes and the peppers and stuff like that. So it's all mixed
Ooh.
into the cheese,
Uh-huh.
and then like some chicken we put in there.
Oh, nice.
Add that on top.
Like shredded, or like more like a diced.
Yeah, like we bought like a rotisserie chicken and just
Okay.
like tore it apart.
Oh,
Gotcha.
baby.
Okay, nice.
And then and then put like some sour cream on top. Pretty
Mm.
good stuff.
So do you do that? Is that like its own thing, and then you dip the chips in there, or do you
Nah, it's on top of the chips. Right?
on top of the chips? Okay, all right, that's nice. That's beautiful. Wow.
Makes for a mess, but it's fun.
No. It's actually, that's the way you're supposed to do it. I think if you don't do it that way, I think it might be a crime against somebody. I don't know.
Yeah, that's like chips and dip. That's like a whole other thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not having nachos. That's just like there are nachos there, kind of an appetizer. Right.
You have the components, but you're not doing it right.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's glorious. Yeah, it was just Mississippi pot roast here for me.
Hungry.
I did. So anyway, nothing too exciting. All right. Well, hey, be sure to do the straw poll if you have not done so yet. Knock out that straw poll. It has to do with where do you get the majority of your Bash or other scripts that you use with Linux. So you gotta be careful when getting things out there on the worldwide scary interwebs. So we're just gonna have a little discussion about that, and I think that'll be kind of fun. So on the docket for today, we are jam packed with all kinds of excitement. So last week, my internet totally did a number on me. It decided that it was no longer going to trade some bits between my home and the World Wide Web. So we had to shut the show down like an hour early because everything just started to crash down to nothing. No idea why. I guess it just happens when you're on my kind of cellular-based internet. So anyway, we're going to have a community free pour where we bring in the StormOS team and are going to have them talk a little bit more, kind of finish out where we started last week, and then kind of finish up the history, and then just maybe some direction of where StormOS is going to go, and then any other comments about the installation and experience of using it. Then we have tonight's a news flight night, so we're going to do that as well first, as well as a straw poll that I spoke of. But first, we're doing a Linux and tech. I think, where are we going with that? I don't know. Someone have something in tech they want to talk about? If not, I'll kind of sort of kick that off. I've been
I got nothing for you, Nate.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've been doing some getting ready for Christmas already. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, what is the matter with you? Christmas is so far away. But when you're a bit of a numpty like myself, you do all kinds of stuff with lights and whatnot. So I've been playing around with I've been installing more lights on my barn adjacent my home, so I can have lights around that as well. I wanted to do that last year, it didn't work out, so I've been working on it this year, installing some F-trim. I'm documenting the process so I can release that as a article on cubiclenate.com. So if you want to see how to go from nothing to not quite cruising speed, but like kind of get you past that knowledge gap that a lot of people have with how to get started. That's where I spend a lot of time just trying to understand how it works. So I'm going to kind of close that gap as much as possible. If there's not stuff out there already, I've read some of it, but mine will be better because it's for me. Or better for me, I should say, or better people who think the same way I do. But anyway, so I'm working on that, and then also, like the lights I have around my monitor here, TV thing. So that's using WLED and a little ESP8266. I'm working on a write-up for that as well. Also, I did some CAD designs to contain it and be able to use it quite nicely, WLED. Spent a lot of time making sure those snaps were just right and didn't break off, and anyway, so I'm working on that as well. I'm very excited about the upcoming holiday season. So I like to light up. Michigan, where I live, gets really dark, and I don't know if anybody else kind of deals with that where they live. I know probably Adam, since you live in the behind the cheddar curtain, I know it gets pretty dark there. Pretty much same level as here, and
Yeah,
I don't.
4:30.
Yeah, I don't. I just do not like. I don't like the darkness. It just kind of depresses me. Not to say I'm not a depressed person, but like it just kind of brings me down. Does anybody experience that, like in the wintertime when there's no sunlight? Oh, Colin, you're like in the middle of summer, so it's like, woo for you. But
Actually, I have the
I'm
opposite
not
problem.
in the middle of summer yet. It's still cold here.
oh, is it? What?
Don't know
No,
what happened. Yeah, I don't know. Weather's crazy right now. Bali was nice though. Nice and hot.
yeah, I
I
like.
actually have the
good.
opposite problem. I feel better in the winter than I do in the summer.
Oh, really?
Oh, Nate,
Yeah, I'm not. I keep in mind I grew up like in the tropical south and it just got miserable after a while. So
I got you.
you were asking if anyone had tested out any new technology. I was testing out TLP UI.
TLP UI. What is this TLP UI thing?
It's TLP, but with a user interface. It's in
Okay.
the
Oh, I
AUR.
didn't know.
Yeah, and it's actually
That's
pretty good.
interesting.
It did help out quite a bit on my ROG M15 to extend its battery life while I'm using it. And it's pretty good. Pretty good. It does what it can to extend the battery life, while you're using it unplugged.
So does that tie in then with like UPower and being able to do like tweaks to the
Yes.
system? Okay.
Yes, you can do certain tweaks, but you have to be careful. You can switch them on and off, and has USB connectors where you can just turn them on and off as well. But
Well,
so far, I've got it set pretty well. So
Well, that's really cool. So what do you use for your desktop environment?
I use SolarOS, Xfce. Sorry,
Xfce,
Xfce.
okay. Because I know that Plasma, they prefer that you use the new something else. It's like Power something.
Power Profiles, Damon.
Yes, that's it. Power Profiles, Damon.
Yeah,
And I've
I
heard.
saw that Fedora is using like TuneD behind that instead. So like they have a whole new thing. It's actually pretty neat. I looked into it. There's a lot of really good profiles and stuff for that. So might be worth looking into as well.
Yeah. So
And they have a Power Profiles Daemon like compatibility package, so like it kind of works with the desktops already. But
right.
Yeah.
Now, does TuneD integrate then with? So I know that OpenSUSE also uses the TuneD as well. I know that.
yeah. So there's like terminal, app like terminal configuration you could use for it, but it also has a compatibility package for Power Profiles Daemon.
Okay.
So when like KDE or whatever goes looking for Power Profiles Daemon, it's actually talking to TuneD through that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because Power Profiles Daemon it handles it over the dbus, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, and
Believe
then then it also.
And so TuneD has a various like other profiles. So like maybe you want like lower latency performance, or maybe you're looking for more throughput and stuff like that. So there's actually more profiles that TuneD handles
Okay.
than just like balanced performance and power save.
Okay.
And so it's kind of might be something to look into as well for power management.
Yeah, I just leave whatever the OpenSUSE default was. I know they replaced TLP with those some time ago, and I just left it default because I like the new little things that pop up now in my my system tray. They're pretty rad. So like the for instance, now I have control over like brightness of like everything, and the different power profiles, of course, too, and so forth. It's kind of neat.
Speaking of the brightness thing, real quick, I was actually kind of neat to find out that my desktop monitor actually communicates because I have a USB cable, mainly for the hub, but I guess it actually communicates some information. And I can actually adjust the brightness of my desktop monitor from the little brightness thing. on
Yeah.
Phasma. Thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah. So you know that the silly six screen setup that I have.
Yeah.
All those, even though they're display link, and then I have just over USB-C and everything else, they're all tunable like brightness, and it's kind of crazy. I can turn them up and down just from the little widget in the task
And
menu.
it turns all 6 of them.
Yeah, I can do it independently, like individually, and the backlight on my my framework, that's also adjustable in that as well. So, yeah,
Neat.
and that's exactly. I think that's actually new as of the latest kernel to the 6.3 or whatever. What is it?
Oh, it's cool to see that kind of integration, right?
6.11.6.
If TLP, for whatever reason doesn't quite get you where you need to be, then you could look into setting up TuneD.
Yeah, but that's cool though. I'm excited to see anytime that there's something else to play with, because the fact that not everything's homogeneous in Linux, I think, is a good thing. I know some might say it's a bad thing, but the fact that you have TLP, which is competing against the other systems, I think that's a wonderful thing. I don't think that's bad at all. That's fantastic. So, and if Seeker likes it, works great with this Xfce, then what more could you have or want? Nachos, but not just dipping, but for actual messy nachos is what we can ask for. So when I do nachos, not to get back on that, but I like to do shredded cheese on top of it, and then I'll put like other things like jalapenos or other bits and pieces, and then like shredded something, usually beef. And sometimes my kids love it. Sometimes they're like they stick their nose up to it. They're not interested.
My wife makes the best nachos. She takes nacho cheese Doritos, sharp cheddar cheese, ground beef, avocado salsa, sour cream, black olives, and border sauce, and it's probably one of the most unhealthiest things in the world, but it's delicious.
Well, I mean, it's probably not the most unhealthy thing in the world.
No, but it's certainly not health food.
But what is health food really? You'll see the heart healthy stuff like on a box of cereal that has like, 200% of your daily intake of sugar, and apparently that's heart healthy. So I don't think so. That's a bunch of whatever.
They're concerned with your heart, not your pancreas.
Good point.
I've started eating oatmeal because it's supposed to be healthier, but then I'm reading on like 90% of them have calcium carbonate in it, and with my kidney problems, I'm not supposed to eat that stuff. So it's.
And then there's that.
I've come to the conclusion that no industrialized food is really that healthy.
I would
not
lean
gonna
that way
lie.
as well. Go ahead, Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was just gonna insert real quick and say I'm not gonna lie. This may sound kind of cheesy, but I love 7-Eleven nachos.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
Ba-boom.
Cheesy, yeah.
Try to do that. I apologize.
No, never apologize for a bad pun. Those are not only
Yeah.
encouraged,
The
but
nectar of the gods.
yes, bad puns.
Yes, exactly.
Well, all right. I guess it's time to move on to the straw poll. This will be a fun discussion. Where do you get the majority of Bash or other scripts that you use with Linux? And so if you have not done that straw poll, knock it out real quick. I'm going to read a couple of the replies and highlight some that was here in the chat. So early on in the chat, I saw that Donald? Did Don say this? Who said it? It's Don Lackland. He says, don't ever run scripts from an untrusted source. Random folks on GitHub are untrusted sources. So, is there such a thing as an unrandom person on GitHub? I don't know.
Good question.
Yeah.
Are you telling me it's a bad idea to curl into Bash? Come on.
Yes, and that was actually another comment too. Joe or Grumpy says sudo and curl ... with a sad face, sad emoji.
I find it just we'll speak about that more. Go ahead. Yeah.
Then Joe also said no dash preserve dash root. That's fun. So anyway, let's see if there's anything else here. Those in the chat. I don't see anything else. Maybe. So some other replies. So we're to be perfectly honest, I don't actually use scripts all that often, but when I do, they tend to come from a random GitHub project. So there we go. Oh, welcome, Jason. Nice to see your Florida face.
G'day, Jason. Seen you for a while.
He's muted because he doesn't want us to hear what he's saying. There's something witty because he had a smirk on his face. Probably slightly condescending.
Not I'm disappointed.
Okay, there it goes. Now
there we are.
For a few seconds, I was like, "Is that a Colin?"
It is a Colin.
Yeah, it is.
I haven't seen you in a while. How's it going?
Yeah, good.
Welcome back, Jason.
It's good to have him.
Good to be back.
It's good to have
Yeah,
Swift,
good.
even if we can't
And
see
a
his
good
face.
And a so-so.
Oh, and a so-so.
So, I've got a question. Why
Sure.
why is he saying sudo and curl with a sad face? Why is that? Are you not supposed to run those in a script, or is that what he's saying?
Yeah, because you're when you curl something, that's usually like a big long script, and if you haven't actually read through that script and then gave it sudo power, it can do all kinds of just really awful things.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's got to be
yeah.
trusted.
Don't run what you don't know.
Correct.
That's all
So
good.
another did I read this already? I read a lot of GitHub or Stack Overflow and built my own scripts. I understand from what I see. I think that's good. I think that's kind of the idea of what you should do. Another comment or reply. I make them. Friends share theirs, and from blogs. So I don't know that I would trust too many blogs out there. Although if you do go to cubiclenate.com, I'm not a random person on the internet. Maybe I'm a random person on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only. I would consider myself a
trusted source.
a almost trusted source. I wouldn't knowingly do anything that would be awful. And also, I explain all the bits in the scripts too when I do that. So let's see, results from the Strawpoll. So Don Leckland says, curl itself is fine. If you pipe it to something else, that's bad.
Yeah, that's when it goes south. Yeah.
So then the install script for Tailscale does curl and then pipe. So what do you think of that?
But that was something I was going to mention is there are a lot of like official sources that do that. Like that's kind of like a really like, I guess you can consider an anti-pattern. Like that like a lot of places do. And we're not just talking like some random guy on GitHub. Like we're talking enterprise software even.
Yep.
It's like, hey, you want to install this? Curl it into Bash. And it's like, you kidding me?
So Datto, like data backups are kind of like the Cadillac of backup solutions. So they have a Windows installer, and then they have a script that you curl and then sudo to install for their
Docker. Docker does as well. Like they have a convenience script that's just curl into Bash, and I'm like, this is. And see that the problem that with that is sure these are trusted sources, right? You can sort of trust that there's some amount of trust that they're not.
I like that. It's a trusted source. You can sort of trust.
Right. But like, the problem is it sets up this idea that is an acceptable way to distribute solutions.
Yeah.
And that kind of, for lazy people who might not want to look into it, or people who just don't know, they might be new to IT, they might be new to Unix, Linux. Like they're just like, oh, I guess this is just how you do it. And so it sets up a really bad expectation, and that's awful, man.
I'd rather learn how to do it than trust something I don't know. I did that when I first set up my 5.1, excuse me, Mac Pro. I had to break into it using single user to, get around some things. I could have just put in a bunch of cut and paste type things to get it to go. Nope, I actually read up on it and learned the script and did it through Brew and got it working.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that all online stuff is bad, right? Like if you do actually trust a source, like then
that's why I said I did the research.
Yeah.
So the nice thing is you can curl that script and then just open it up in a text editor and look at it from there if you so choose, which I have done. Admittedly, I only did that once with Tailscale, so they could have shoved some naughty bits in there and me not know, I suppose.
Right. That's also the problem, right? Like you curl it today and it's fine, but you curl it a week from now and it's different, right?
I want to see how they do it. 'Cause actually, I think it requires you to. There was, if I can remember. Oh no! Actually, now there's no you curl, and then pipe to sh. So no. Yeah, it's still.
It's basically the same thing, right?
Yeah, it is.
Curling into shell, yeah.
Yeah.
Now that being said, the Windows world isn't necessarily any better in that because a lot of people get stuff off PS Gallery, which is like a PowerShell script repository, and that also, like unless it's a well-known, well-vetted module off of there, you might want to.
I test a lot of stuff. Before I do a lot of stuff, I like to test it out in virtual machines.
Yep.
Just to make sure if it breaks a virtual machine, I don't care.
If I have a reason to mistrust it, yeah.
Yeah, if I have a reason to think that it's not a trusted source, I'll run it through that, on a system that's, a separate system from my main system. Even if it is in a virtual machine, just, play it safe.
So I do have to say, I don't trust necessarily those like Windows installers, like those MSI or whatever files either. I don't trust those much. And then, but I know it's you have to have. I guess you have to have like a little faith in whoever's doing that. So, I guess I don't know.
Yep.
All the stuff that I build at work is all signed as well.
That's right. It's a good call.
Kind of a
got
regulation
certificates.
Yeah, kind of a regulation given my field, but yeah. So
Ariel in the chat says installed the Oculus speed test CLI. That way. So with the curl, and totally messed up my repos. That's fun.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That does not sound like fun at all.
Nope, and that would be a trusted source too.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've done something in Windows, like download a piece of software, or even a Windows update, for example. Windows is notorious for breaking their own stuff. I have a Windows update on this machine that's been sitting there for about 6 weeks, and every time I try to install it, it blue screens twice, and then goes to repair mode and fixes itself. And sometimes it tries to do it itself overnight. So, that whole thing about the new was it 24H2 that's supposed to be coming out mandatory. I can't get even 23H2 to fully update on this machine.
I did a manual update 24H2 on a machine that wasn't supported, and it seems to work fine.
Yeah, my server just got 24H2, not a problem. Something wrong with this machine that doesn't, whatever. Don't need it anyway. It works fine.
What can you do? All right, well, let me get to the results of the Strawpoll here, since I've been pattering there a little bit. So where do you get the majority of your bash or other scripts that you use with Linux? And the number one answer is at 51%, 51.8%, 51.9%, 52. Let's just say 52. I make them myself. Well, good on you. You're part of the smart elite in this amongst us. In second place with 11.1 votes, General Linux how-to website. Oh, it just shifted. Now number one is only 50%. Now number two is just shy of 11% with General Linux how-to website.
Still a huge gap.
Number three, 7%. I don't use scripts with Linux. And then in fourth place, Linux distribution-related website. So the site directly related to the distribution. And then tied for fourth place is GitHub, other such source code website. And also tied with third place. I'm sorry. So it's all right. That shifted again.
Fourth, whatever.
So tied for third, I've got I don't use scripts with Linux, Linux distribution related website, GitHub, other such source code website, and then other with replies. Then I have in 1, 2, 3. I lost count now. Then I get them from a friend, and then AI chatbot. That's fun.
Oh God, no.
And Tuxpinion.
I'm sorry. AI chatbot. No.
So No, I honestly, I've
What?
used a local, like I have a Llama 3 Instruct that I run, like GPT for all, and actually I learned about it here on Linux Saloon, I think. Anyway, that I do sometimes, like, I need to do this function. Can you help me with the syntax to make sure I have it correct? And then it'll actually give me the right way to do it. And so that's kind of nice.
I don't think you're overly smart or elite if you're doing scripts, because if you do a few, then you can just go back and refer to them, right? That's what I do. I learned how to, I sort of learned how to write them from looking at stuff on the internet, but I did my YAD form scripts, right? So, I mean, they're pretty basic. I went a little bit overboard with some of them, but they're pretty handy. So press a button rather than type it out or remember how to type. I wouldn't remember how to do it. I have to still refer back to it. So,
Right.
Yeah, I keep a lot of bookmarks on those things and notes. I use I use OneNote, and I have I love OneNote. It's one of my favorite note apps, and I have everything in there, if for memory's sake, because you're not going to remember
So
what
now,
you're doing.
why do you like OneNote so much?
Oh, I just like the way it works. I use it a lot for work when I was working for Bank of America. And we just I kept everything in. It was what they gave us on their system, because we did everything through virtual machine. So we worked from home, remote in through virtual machine, so everything was set up for us. Now I was second level. I was enterprise level. So I was on the tier 2 desk, and we could install whatever we wanted. But I just got into OneNote, and I just loved the way you could break everything down. You can just organize the way it organized. I just love using it.
Well, good. I'll start using it more. I appreciate that recommendation. I've been using Joplin quite a bit, and that's been cool.
Yeah, I mean, I bought I got the subscription to Office 365 mostly because of OneNote and Excel. Those are my two favorite programs.
I use because of Colin. I'm transitioning from using OneNote everything over to Joplin. So I've had.
I was just about to ask you that, because that's what we were talking about when I was on here last.
Yeah. So
So you like it?
Yeah. I'm
like
I'm liking a lot. Well, so
pretty good, isn't it?
The thing I like about Joplin is it has that markdown way of entering stuff, and so it works better for my brain just to use markdown, and then I can copy paste stuff very easily. And then I use it for work stuff only, and primarily, and so but also has.
Joplin, you said?
Yeah, Joplin. And so
Joplin,
it has like tasks too. So like right now when I'm working on different projects, now I put everything in there, and then I can build tasks off of those that I can check off. And it's a really sweet setup. So I got to say, like, I'm kind of on the Joplin wagon right now.
You can make your own checkboxes in that,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
I found quite interesting with that markdown. I mean, I don't know much about markdown. I only learn what I need, what suits me at the end of the day, which is when I was building a new home, I needed a checklist for certain things. So it just made it a little bit easier. And you can do it on your phone. You can do it on a computer. It's really follows you around pretty good, I must say.
And I'm using I
may have to look into it.
The OneDrive backend for the synchronization, so it goes then to the phone or whatever else. And then what's also nice with that too is, speaking of scripts, so I've been working a lot with SUSE lately, and we're changing our hypervisor from VMware to Harvester, and it's been going very well. And occasionally I send Adam Grubbs these very excited messages that he doesn't usually respond to, but I wasn't calling you out there, but I just did. Anyway,
yeah.
Anyway, excuse me. The smoker's cough. I don't smoke. Anyway, I use Joplin then to put the scripts in there that I use, or like the different YAML files, and it's really nice because they can just very easily do that with the markdown, and I've really been enjoying that. So, been pretty exciting. Well, good deal. Well, that was fun. Any other thoughts on scripts and pulling stuff randomly off the internet? I know Steve's Rayon he wanted to punch me because I do that on his streams, but I don't have such fancy things like electricity here. So, anyway,
Nice.
that was a Weird Al reference.
I love Weird Al. One of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Oh yeah, I agree. I took my my oldest to a Weird Al concert last year.
God, I went to his concert. It was over 20 years ago. I was still living in Boston. He played at the one of the I think it was either Northeastern University or MIT, one of the two. He did a concert for the college. Oh, it was great.
Weird Al is amazing.
Oh,
Amazing lyricist.
Ever.
I agree.
Oh, he plays like so many instruments.
Yeah, he's got some skills for sure.
Yup.
All right, well, tonight is a news flight night. So Eris put a lot of stuff together. He couldn't be here tonight. He had other engagements, and I think IRL is more important than a live stream. Nothing against live stream stuff, but I think, you know, we got to have real relationships too. So the first article is from sfgate.com. I've never actually heard of this source before. Is that San Francisco? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it says a lot of demoralized people. Ghost jobs are wreaking havoc on tech workers. So ghost jobs, those are ads for positions that aren't actually open, are a common phenomenon in the tech industry, which has been plagued by layoffs and budget cuts over recent years. So according to a 2024 survey from My Perfect Resume, 81% of recruiters admitted to posting ads for positions that were fake or already filled. While some respondents said employers did it to maintain a presence on job boards and build a talent pool, it's also used to commit psychological warfare, where 20% said about ghost jobs helped companies gauge how replaceable their employees were, well, which is terrible. 23% said it helped make the company appear more stable during a hiring freeze. Another report in 2024 from Resume Builder said that 62% companies posted them specifically to make their employees feel replaceable. It also made ads to trick overworked employees into believing that more people would be brought on to alleviate their overwhelming workload. Now, frankly, if I worked for a company like that, I would be like, see yas, I'm going to do something else, even if it's digging ditches. So, you know, peace out. Thankfully, I don't work for a company like that. But yeah, is that something that you've experienced in the tech industry? People who are there.
They used to do it years ago around here with temp agencies all the time.
Yeah,
I ran into it recently because, as you know, some of you know, that I've been I got laid off back in March, and been trying to get a job, and I've run into a lot of posts, like let's say like Indeed.com or whatever, where I went to apply. It was it's like maybe one day tops that I, from the post to when I applied, and it's like this job is currently not hiring, but the post is still there. Like I went back a couple weeks later, the post is still there, even with the same response. So there's some companies that are even doing it on like on Indeed.com and stuff like that, where they're posting job, listings. That's the word I'm looking for. Job listings, but when you go to apply, it just sends you to a link to a thing, a response, automatic response saying this job is no longer available or already filled.
So
And
there are many HR departments that have sometimes it's a regulation by their municipality or by their state, or it might just be an internal thing. But many of them will have a requirement that they post a job position publicly, even when they have an already existing internal hire that they're going to hire instead. So like if, say, example, like I was getting promoted to another position that they made, their requirement might be to post that position publicly, even if they already had the intent of just promoting me or hiring me for that position. And so there will be numerous candidates and other people who apply for that position thinking, oh man, this position's open, it's great. And then it was never going to be theirs, right? And
in this case, you couldn't even apply. You hit the apply button, but it automatically said no.
Now I know that
put a resume in.
I do know that I have read that there are regulations. I've heard from the HR department, like when they go to hire somebody, they have to open up to everybody, and even if their intent is to hire internally, they have to make it public and allow for a certain amount of time to do the interview process.
right. And then you think about how much time and money and effort is wasted by everyone. in that whole chain of people, right? The HR department has to deal with the incoming flood of resumes from the position that they're not going to actually look at. You have all the people who are, spending their own time putting together, because, putting together a resume, you put a bespoke one together for that position. And that takes, a certain amount of time and effort from the applicant to put together a bespoke resume to try to get their best foot forward. And
Right.
if it was never even intended for, there's, all these people wasting their time and money. They might be spending money on like resume builder tools and websites and stuff. And like, it's so wasteful. It's awful, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know that's one of those tough things because you want to make it. It's kind of like you want to keep
it's
it
also
open.
like a shareholder thing too. Like, how do we make our company look better? Well, look at all these positions we have open. Look at all these quote unquote jobs we created, and like it makes it look like, oh man, this company's got like all these positions they're trying to fill. They must be growing. They must be getting better. When in fact they never intended to fill those. It's just to make it look like they're succeeding, and that's awful too.
Yeah. A lot of times
'Cause
smaller.
that's just, now you're deceiving people who might invest in your company that's actually failing, and you're just kind of deceiving them into thinking you're successful because you have all these jobs.
I know smaller companies don't really have that issue, but they're also. I mean, just it's different world, I guess.
Yeah, totally different. Yeah.
So we have another new name, Bentley. That Sourstall. I don't know. Welcome, Bentley. So, in another news topic, Fedora is looking to do an official, like same level as GNOME spin, same tier as GNOME, based on Fedora Workstation. So I thought this was exciting news. I'm a fan of Fedora. I don't use Fedora, but it's kind of like the, if Tumbleweed ever like disappeared on me, I think I'd probably go Fedora. That's probably the direction I would go. So Fedora KDE Desktop Spin promoted to the same tier as the GNOME-based Fedora Workstation. It's written by Michael Larbell on the 8th of November, 2024. It was early in the year, Fedora changed proposal seeking to make KDE Plasma the default over GNOME for Fedora 42. A compromise of sorts has now been settled on, with the Fedora Desktop Spin being promoted as an edition status that will be put on the same level as the GNOME-based Fedora Workstation edition. So approval has been granted to upgrade the Fedora KDE Desktop Spin to edition status. So now both the KDE Plasma and GNOME Desktop editions are on the same playing field. Now, I think that's pretty exciting. I did hear some time ago about that, KDE, like making Plasma the primary. But I think it makes sense. I think Plasma is really pretty rad. I use it. I like it.
I like that change.
I think it's good. I think having the same level, I think that's great. Anna Rita says, Fedora is like a new kid on the block who has rich parents. LOL.
Fedora been around for a minute.
Yeah,
the kid's pretty old.
Yeah, I think the kid has kids.
That kid can drink already, so it's pretty old.
I do have Fedora on my now my CMP, my 5.1 that now runs Fedora. It's nice. I like it.
I have no problems with Fedora. I think there were some like little like nitnoid things with it that kind of bothered me, but it was they were more like preference things. Like it's dumb. It's not a big deal, and maybe it's not even an issue anymore. But the last time I ran Fedora, the files dialog on Mozilla Firefox, it would use the GNOME or the GTK file dialog, and I really loathe that one. And Plasma uses on Tumbleweed it uses and Leap it uses the KDE one, the Plasma version, and I much prefer that. And that's really like my only real gripe. That's like my big one that really like grinds my gears. Is that kind of petty?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of petty.
That's probably fine.
So, anyway, I think it's exciting, especially for KDE folks.
Speaking of Firefox.
Yes.
I've seen some news about them putting off 30% of their workers Have you read that one?
I did not hear this one. Do you got an article that you can
No, I
share?
was watching Nick from what's his name this morning. What's the name of his channel? I was watching him, and they're from I think from the security part of the Firefox team. So I don't understand Firefox. From what I hear, they get a lot of money or a lot of funding, and millions of dollars, and yet they keep putting people off. So I don't get.
Yeah, there's
how
a
that works.
article in TechCrunch. And looks like there's an article for The Verge too, saying that 4 days ago they said the Mozilla Foundation lays off 30% of staffs.
That's unfortunate.
Well, I think they're restructuring their whole company around Firefox because Mozilla Corporation's kind of started advertising technologies. They're also starting to invest in AI, and they're pulling a lot less funding to projects like Firefox and putting it into these other things. It seems like Firefox is like, they're just like not giving it the attention anymore. They're like moving on to other things.
Yeah, the beginning of the article says the Mozilla Foundation, the nonprofit arm of the Firefox browser maker, Mozilla has laid off 30% of its employees as the organization says it faces relentless onslaught of change. So yeah, so they're apparently going through a lot of changes.
That's a lot of hyperbole. LanduCon's YouTube channel has some pretty good coverage. I think he's got about three videos on it in the last 2 weeks. So
I think so. This is just one of those numbers things.
With its own spin, though.
It sounds really bad when it's like, oh man, they laid off a third of their people. Close to a third, but they only had 120 employees, so a third isn't that many people. And they could have had those people diverted. Like, it's not always like engineers or anything. It could just be they had too many extra people in like a division like that they don't need anymore, or maybe they were part of a project that they're not really focused on anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, it sucks that those people are without a job.
Yeah.
That's the part that sucks. But
it's like an advocacy group or something like that they're
right. So
no
it
longer
makes it
using.
sound like, oh man, there's less people working on the browser or whatever. But it's not necessarily always that, right?
Hello, Ginger.
I would say that
I think the reason why people are focusing on it so much is because of things that have happened previously leading up to it. They totally pulled the rug out from under their CEO and replaced their CEO after some kind of hiatus or something, after giving that same CEO like $11 million raise or something. It was ridiculous. And then all of a sudden terminated them in favor of someone else, and then started investing in ad revenue companies and stuff that are still within the Mozilla umbrella. So it's kind of under the radar. And then they start to invest in AI, and then all of a sudden they fire these people. I think all of these events are connected to one another, and I think that's why it's getting so much attention.
It seems like this is just, being I'd call a more casual observer of the open source and tech over the years. Mozilla goes through these things periodically where they have a lot of controversy. They just do this. It's just kind of, and then especially if it's like a slow news day too, and nothing else exciting is going on, it's like, oh my gosh, Mozilla's doing something crazy. Like if you look at if I zoom out and I look at my experience using Firefox, it's been great. It actually gets better all the time. Like it's been a fantastic browser. It's my preferred browser for everything, personal work stuff. I use, Edge, but like Thunderbird, and then the whole like Thunderbird merging with K9 and all these other things that they got their fingers involved in. It's like they're really making some really neat changes on some of the other applications, related to Mozilla or related to Firefox. So I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things like, they have some good things here and some bad things here, and then we all focus on the bad things and ignore the fact that.
So one thing to note that the layoffs were the Mozilla Foundation, which is their like governance body, not the Mozilla Corporation, which is the one that actually develops the products. It's a different organization within the Mozilla umbrella.
Right.
So we're talking about like paper pushers that are just getting laid off,
pushing
not
papers,
engineers and folks who are working on the products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it won't come for them at some point. Just that
Right.
this is not
and
that.
we also shouldn't overreact too much, because a project as big as Firefox, if Mozilla does something to screw it up, it'll probably be forked 24 times before the end of the day. So it's not
true.
going to be a big deal.
That's very true.
Let's not forget about
That's
Iceweasel.
very true.
Oh yeah.
I haven't used Firefox in years. I used it for a long, long time, and all of a sudden it started crashing in all my systems, so I stopped using it. It's one of those, probably like a update type thing, and
Well,
pretty much
I
just
recently
use
started using it
Googlies.
again. I just wanted to get away from Google, so I just quit using Chromium stuff and went back to Firefox.
I love Google.
Yeah.
I love the Google browser. Yeah, I'll admit it.
I think
Chromium.
for me, if Firefox fails to work for me, I'd probably go with Brave or something like that.
Brave is good. I like that one.
I want to like Vivaldi. Like I make it a point to try and use it and like it. But I mean, it should be something that I enjoy because of the fact it's kind of like the KDE of browsers with all the options and stuff baked into it. But for whatever reason, like it just doesn't work well with me. But it did take like 3 or 4 years before I got on board with the whole Minecraft game. So maybe that's kind of what's going on with me. It'll just take a little bit longer.
Man,
I know
Vivaldi
for work.
Vivaldi to me feels like balancing sandbags on stilts. Like it's just
Vivaldi does.
Like can I do it if I do it long enough? Sure, but did I have fun? Probably not.
And when I was working, a lot of the companies, like Bank of America in particular, was very, very big. Not even on Edge, even though it's a Microsoft product, but they pretty much, a lot of their programs seem to work the best because they had a lot of internal programs that we used, and they always worked best in Google Chrome. So we always use Google Chrome.
Well, after what Google did to me, I just refused to use any of their products. So.
Yeah, I would never stream anything
Hello,
on YouTube.
Gigi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Gigi.
What can you do?
My YouTube channel was hacked, and other friends of mine were victims of the same hack.
That's terrible.
And YouTube and Google helped them and basically gave me the finger. So I guess I'm a little sour about it. I never got my YouTube channel back.
That
was
I can see that.
Basically 10 years of videos just gone. So yeah, I'm a little sour at Google. So
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Would be too.
That's fair.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Google has done some pretty shady stuff recently, and I just, I've somewhat considered switching over to Firefox purely because, of all the shady stuff they've been doing a lot recently.
Well, they used to have in their company motto was "Do no evil," but they removed that. So there's also that.
Yeah, they've clearly gone back on that, Nate, and I just, it's pushing me more and more away from Chromium and the Chrome-based browsers, and more so into the the Firefox and the Mozilla and the etc. The alternative browsers. It's really not. It's not anything I want to center myself around much anymore. So
I gotcha. Well, some more exciting news. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but the U.S. Copyright Office frees the McFlurry, allowing repairs of the ice cream machine. So, one, this is exciting on two fronts. One, we can finally get ice cream at McDonald's again, and two, a government agency actually does something. So that's exciting too.
And now that's if anybody actually goes to McDonald's.
Yeah, that's not going to make me go to McDonald's.
All right, so
I don't know if I should be putting this out in public, but my nephew works at McDonald's. It's his first job, and they recently failed their monthly health
inspection.
department.
Oh, that's no good.
The health department inspection because the ice cream machine had live maggots crawling around inside of it.
Wow,
Oopsie.
Obviously
That's extra that's just extra protein.
That's right.
Yeah,
for the McFlurry.
They can
Well,
fix
see-
the machine if they want to, but I'm not going to eat ice cream out of it.
So that might kind of make sense to with my story with McDonald's. Is when I lived in Boston, I got food poisoning 3 times from 3 different McDonald's.
Yeah, well, there you
Really?
go.
Wow.
Oh god.
So I decided, no.
That's
See,
surprising.
the
me.
problem is
Built
they
up from
had mac-
ice cream, though.
Now there is one good McDonald's around here. The up here by Langley Air Force Base, there's a McDonald's just outside the base. That one's always just perfect.
Well, they don't want to mess with the military personnel. I mean,
No.
if you get one of them food poisoning, that's gonna be trouble.
But see,
It is.
the manager at that McDonald's, just shooting the breeze in this place. They have their own ice cream machine in there. It doesn't even come from the McDonald's headquarters. They have their own thing, and it's just I don't know. I guess they got to please the Air Force guys. So
Catherine, you just had ice cream. Was it from McDonald's?
No, it's not. I just had a brief intermission off the video, and I got some ice cream out of the freezer at my house.
Yeah.
That
I
does
don't know,
might get
McDonald's
built up
food
from
poisoning
ice
is-
cream, though.
Well, a little
McDonald's
bit.
food poisoning is a good reason to hang out at the TMC all day. So
That's right.
the best ice cream around here comes from Short Lane Ice Cream Company in Gloucester. I don't know if anybody's been around
Gloucester.
here. Been there. It's good.
Good
I know
old
it's a-
Massachusetts.
It's not technically ice cream, but the custard from Culver's. Have you ever been to a Culver's?
Yes, Culver's. I love
Yeah.
Culver's burgers.
Oh yeah, the butter burgers. I've attempted to make them myself. You basically you fry them in butter, and they're pretty delicious if you do it right. But you gotta get the temperature just right, because if you too hot, the butter burns, and too cold, and obviously it's just not right. But anyway,
then it's a
Yeah.
butter burner.
My favorite has to be my great grandmother used to make a homemade lemon ice cream. It was the best thing in the world.
Oh, homemade's always better.
But
Yeah.
it's really hard anywhere to just find a straight lemon ice cream. Nobody really has.
Yep. Yeah. There's a local place around here called Brewster's,
Mhm.
and we go there whenever my aunt wants to go there. That's her favorite ice cream place. So
I've
we'll
been
go
in
up
one
there.
of those before.
We go up there and we just order. I don't like a cone. I just want the ice cream. I don't want all the carbs. Extra
It's all
carbs or whatever
carbs.
they're. Yeah, it's all
Definitely.
sugar, but I'm just saying the extra cone. I mean, that's just adding insult to injury there. But anyway, so I mean,
It's a
but
drop in the bucket.
flavors. This is so good. I heard McDonald's in England is serving a double Big Mac. It's like going to In-N-Out and getting a double, huh?
I like Cold Stone Creamery. They're pretty good.
they
Yep,
are.
Cold Stone's good. They put on that little marble slab and they do whatever they do with the
Yes.
spatula.
And they
and-
sing for you. That's really cool.
Wait a
Oh,
minute.
I've
you
never
guys
had
are
one
sitting
sing
there-
to me.
Yeah,
Thank the
they
Lord
sing.
Davis.
They will
for
sing for you.
McDonald's ice cream giving you food poisoning, and you're okay with some random teenager throwing your ice cream on a surface that who knows?
Oh,
if
I
it-
never got food
Nah,
poisoning
man,
from the
we're-
ice cream.
No,
I never
we're
got
not-
food poisoning from the ice cream. I got food poisoning from
We
going to
gotta be
McDonald's and eating
consistent
their
around
food.
here, man.
They gotta be consistent.
All right. Well, I love
Yeah,
McDonald's. It was my first job. I worked there for like 2 years. How many years? 1995 to where's 96?
Well, hello,
I can't remember.
Zoe.
Anyway,
And yet another cat.
to 98.
Imagine that.
Anyway, so back to the news article. The U.S. Copyright Office frees the McFlurry, allowing repair of ice cream machines. This is reported on October 25th this year. So the consumer advocacy group Public Knowledge hailed a decision by the U.S. Copyright Office to grant an exemption, specifically allowing the repair of retail-level food preparation equipment, including soft-serve ice cream and machines similar to those available at McDonald's. So the group teamed with one of my favorite companies, or whatever, websites, iFixit, to request the exemption last year, said the government ruling with the Free the McFlurry. So Public Knowledge Senior Policy Counsel Meredith Rose called the decision a victory for franchise owners, independent repair shops, and anyone who has who's had to bribe their kids with chili treat on lengthy road trips will be grateful for this. So the change should spark a flurry of third-party repair activity and enable businesses to better serve their customers. This is, while we're disappointed that the register recommended a narrower exemption than we had proposed, this does not often soften our enthusiasm. We will continue to chip away at half-baked laws blocking the right to repair, sprinkling consumer victories as we go. Today's win may not be... all right, it's a lot of puns here. May not be parfait, but it's still pretty sweet. So I think that's pretty exciting. Apparently there's some sort of a copyright, or like there's like a limited number of like only authorized by the company that created it could actually fix or something like that. And so now that's gone.
Well,
So anyway,
it kind of goes into that whole right to repair debate.
Yep.
Louis Rossman has a lot of content on this. I mean, it affects everyone from Apple computer to John Deere tractor to McDonald's ice cream machines. It's just another example of why this whole right to repair movement is so important, because it affects more than just your iPhone. You know, it goes down the line with a lot of tech. You know, if one company is allowed to get away with it, then it just sets a bad precedent for everybody else to do the same thing. So it's just
and
it still cracks me up. The ice machines mixed in with those things. All Apple computers, John Deere, this stuff, and then ice cream machine.
The word precedent is very important.
I think the biggest thing is farm equipment. The farm equipment, like John, that's all tied into right to repair as well, and that's a big one, because that's a big part of the economy. You know, if the farmers can't work on their equipment, then they're having a problem. Now you got supply chain issues, and that affects all of us. So
they can work on their equipment; they just can't get the warranty, right? If they do.
Well, even with John Deere, they can't even get the software necessary to interface with the tractors.
Oh, that's what the problem is. The tractors are all digital. I gotcha.
So they rolled John Deere has rolled some of that back. Thanks to some, they have. So anyway, there's good news on the right to repair front, and McDonald's McFlurry machine is now okay. There's actually a bit of a caveat in this ruling as well. So I just read this here, but so it only applies to retail machines, not to industrial machines. So industrial machines don't have that same sort of a requirement. So there is that.
Just show up to McDonald's wearing a Dairy Queen outfit and tell them that you're here to fix their ice cream machine.
I haven't been there. There's a Dairy Queen up the road. I haven't been there. I haven't been to a Dairy Queen in 20 plus years. I don't even think of them.
No.
If I'm going out to eat or something like that, I don't even think of it. I'd rather go to a sit-down restaurant than a fast food restaurant.
I like their ice cream cakes.
I typically don't eat my ice cream standing up, so.
But it's getting to the point where we're to the point now where there's not that much difference in cost between fast food and an actual sit-down restaurant anymore.
Right.
That's true.
You're better off going to get a better meal than going to get a McVomits burger.
Yeah.
Wow, such hostility toward McDonald's.
Hey, I got food poisoning 3 times from McDonald's. I got some hostility.
There's some hatred there, man.
Yeah, there is.
Deep-seated.
Hey.
We probably need to check that a little bit.
No.
All right. So some more tech news. So FreeBSD reduces OS support from 5 years down to 4 years. Now, I don't know if... I tell you what, right? So from Phoronix, it says the FreeBSD project issued a third quarter of this year progress report to outline enhancements made by this open source BSD operating system over the prior quarter. The FreeBSD developers remain very busy, and some of their Q3 2024 accomplishments include the FreeBSD release team has decided to reduce support timeline from 5 to 4 years. After the 4-year period of FreeBSD release support, there will be a best effort support attempt. So it's kind of like 5. So it's like 4 plus, maybe. AMD's collaboration with FreeBSD Foundation continues. One of the ongoing joint AMD FreeBSD projects is to develop an AMD I/O MMU driver for the platform. An AMD I/O MMU driver is nearing completion and testing ongoing with AMD large core count servers. I don't know what that is. I/O
That has
MMU.
to be the worst rug pull of the year.
Why is that?
I'm being facetious.
Oh, okay.
It's a nothing burger. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. As part of the collaboration between the FreeBSD Foundation and Quantum Leap Research for improving FreeBSD laptop support, the Intel and AMD graphics drivers are seeing updates. There's also ongoing work for better Wi-Fi support, enhancing power management, audio improvements, and other laptop hardware future work. FreeBSD's 14.2 release preparation are underway with FreeBSD 14.2 Beta 1 recently debuting. They hope to issue FreeBSD 14.2 release around early December. The FreeBSD audio mixer has implemented hot swapping. Yay! There are now sound dummy driver and other sound support work. Changes are being made to DHC client to speed up the FreeBSD boot process. Google sponsored this work via the Google Summer of Code to boot significantly faster for the OS to about 2 seconds. A project started to bring FreeBSD to the PinePhone Pro. So there's the ARM architecture 64 SIMD enhancements are being made for better performance on ARM. So I kind of feel like, this is great news. I mean, a rising tide raises all ships, right? But I feel like those are the kind of news articles we'd see like 12 years ago for Linux. So there's that. Anybody here use FreeBSD for anything?
No, I tried BSD once, like 10 years ago, and it just didn't do what my Linux system did, so I just kind of left it alone.
I think in like most of my life, if I've used BSD, it's by accident.
So OpenSense is the only BSD that I use, and that's FreeBSD based.
Oh, my PlayStation. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So one of the best gaming consoles out there.
Yeah.
Is,
PS4, PS5, both are
yeah.
BSD.
Yeah.
I got a PS3.
If there's such a thing.
That's actually the newest console I have is a PS3.
Sorry.
Not much of a gamer, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a World of Warcrafter. That's about my idea of gaming. You can play that on a potato.
Well, at this point, my PlayStation 3 is primarily a Blu-ray player more than it is a gaming console. So
Yeah. I haven't had a console since I want to say PS2.
Yeah. We
lost that in the house fire.
That's no fun.
Nope. And we never played console games. We're PC, Steam. We play a lot of games off Steam.
Yeah, I do a lot of the same. So it looks like.
I don't play.
What
I don't play many games at all. I was just going to say I don't play that many games at all. I play BeamMG on Proton, Steam, and OpenSim and Mindtest. That's it.
Yeah, I don't really play any games either.
That's not true. All right, so this might be unfortunate news for those of us that are, I don't know, stuck in Windows land. So consumers won't be offered all 3 years of extended Windows 10 security updates. Anybody hear about this? From Ars Technica?
I did not.
Nope, didn't hear about it.
All right. Well, it looks like most Windows 10 PCs will stop getting new security updates in October 2025, less than a year from today. For business and schools, the company is offering up to 3 years of extended security updates with prices that increase steadily year by year to incentivize switching to Windows 11. What were you going to say, Adam?
And Bank of America, if I'm going to, the way they kept Windows 7 around, they just upgraded to Windows 10, so they probably won't upgrade to Windows 11 until they must.
Well, I would say that this is probably, if you're a glutton and just a sadomasochist and want to continue your suffering for another couple of years, you can pay Microsoft to have that privilege.
Yep.
So Microsoft announced today, that was October 31st, that users will only be able to buy single year of extended security updates for the Windows 10 PCs at the price of $30 per PC. The company confirmed to us that the second and third years of security updates would be exclusive to business and schools. Microsoft says consumers will be able to enroll in the Windows 10 Extended Security Update program close to the end of support in 2025. For users with older but functional PCs that aren't ready to part with yet $30, certainly less than it would be to cost to buy a new computer. Actually, or you can just put Windows 11 on it, I suppose. And
unless they're too old to upgrade to Windows 11.
I can put Windows 11 on a Gen 4 or a 4th gen Intel without any problems.
Yeah, but you're a smart person.
I could put Windows 11 on this one and tell 24H2 because I don't have the SSE 4.2 instruction set on this processor.
Rufus is magical. Just saying that. So Microsoft is charging businesses for each of the PCs that wait to keep using their Windows 10, but it means that people hoping to cling to Windows 10 on their home PCs until 2028 will have to figure something else out. Or you can install Linux.
People don't want to move to Windows 11 because I believe, from what I heard, they put recall back into Windows 11, or they put recall back in somewhere, from what I heard. So people don't want to go to that.
Oh, recall? Yeah.
Well, I think they're going to
recall.
change the name of it.
Well, recall is now part of the file manager. It's like if you remove recall, it like also uninstalls the file manager and replaces it with a different one. It's weird.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like a dependency for file manager.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do have to say, you know, as much as I don't care for using Windows, I really like their tiling features they have. Does anybody use their tiling features where you take, you know, a window, kind of go to the top, gives you options?
Snap assist thing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if they put that in Plasma. Like that wouldn't bother me at all.
Well,
That'd be
Plasma
better,
6
yeah.
has that like tiling type deal where you can set a hotkey to position them in a predetermined way, which, I mean, I guess that's nice, but it's not as intuitive as the Windows thing, I guess.
Actually, Cody in the YouTube chat raises a very good point. It's something I actually did a couple of times, which is I'm not doing Windows 11. It's just not the choice for me. Windows 10, however, there's an IoT LTSC version, which is getting updates until 2032. It's very thin, much thinner than the retail Windows 10. And with Rufus, you can strip additional bits of annoyances out of it, right? Not having to log into an account and stuff like that. So yeah, I used it. I was just playing with it a few days ago, and commit charge on a bare install of the IoT LTSC is like 1.6 gigs of memory used, as opposed to traditional 2.1 to 2.4 gigs. And FPS is up, everything. Apparently it's a gamer's Windows of choice for people who are really after FPS. So
well, that's cool.
The LTSC version, the one thing to be careful with, the latest version of Windows 10 LTS is only supported till I think 2026, but it was the one before
IoT.
that. Yeah, the 2019 build 1809 that supported till 2032.
Right.
Yeah. But I use it. I have this really old Dell Latitude E6410. I have LTSC on that, and I use it in a virtual machine occasionally just because it's so lightweight.
Exactly. Yeah,
doesn't
I
have
use
any
it
of
in a
that
VM
extra
too.
stuff.
There is a Windows 11 IoT LTSC version, which perversely is, I think, receives updates until 2029, less time.
Even the Windows 11 version of LTSC does not have the hardware restrictions and the hardware checks that regular Windows 11 has either.
Exactly.
What is
Yeah,
LTSC?
Long-term servicing channel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It used to be LTSB, which was channel was branch, long-term servicing branch. And for some reason, somebody woke up and said, hey, let's change branch to channel because, you know.
Why not?
The main problem with it, officially speaking, you have to have a bulk volume license to obtain it.
Yeah, well, you know, random typing away on a keyboard, it's
Yeah.
amazing where you wind up.
Yeah. I officially.
Yeah.
there's other ways of getting things, but yeah, the LTSC version, it's probably the better version of Windows for an enthusiast because it's stripped down. It's like it's more vanilla Windows, and then you can just do what you want with it instead of what Microsoft wants you to do with it. In other words,
So, is there any consequence for running that though? Like, is Microsoft, if you have it's probably still requires a valid registration key, and then do they really care after that?
Not really. No, it's intended use is for like embedded devices like kiosk and systems like that, where it's intended just to be really stripped down. But
Hospital devices.
Yeah, but it's the same kernel and
Yeah.
driver model underneath, so it really doesn't matter. It's the only difference is the licensing, but I mean there's ways around that.
Can you add that to a domain still? Because like Windows Pro, is required for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Windows Home, you can't.
Yeah, it's missing one very important feature though. That fax program.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no!
Oh, we can't fax.
Yeah, like it's for many people, it's a non-starter. So
yeah, could be,
I can fax from here. Oh, look, it's my $2,000 cat. Everybody say hi to the expensive kitty.
Wow, does that cat fold your laundry too?
No, she needed emergency.
Should.
Nope, and there she goes.
The LTSC will not get the major feature upgrades like the home editions and pro editions do. It's just security updates for the most part,
which is such a bonus.
Yeah, for some people that's a good thing. So
yeah, that sounds nice.
It's basically the Debian stable of the Windows world. It's basically what it is.
But Debian stable at running Xfce.
Yeah, but the biggest problem is that you have to have bulk volume licensing, at least officially, to get it, and that can be very expensive. But a lot of people that have IT businesses and stuff like that, they already have a bulk volume license.
Yeah, that's my case. Yeah,
they can just get it. But
interesting. I'll check to see if I
trying to get a single copy of LTSC without it's a little difficult. You're probably going to have to do some less than legal stuff. But I mean, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. So
you can probably use one of these third-party key sellers. You might be able to get it that way.
Yeah. Well, there's a school of thought out there saying that if you purchase a machine with a Windows license, what does it matter if it's LTSC, IoT, LTSC, Pro? If you can downshift to a Windows 7 install with the Windows 10 key, why can't you go sideways into an IoT LTSC or just a straight up LTSC? So, yeah, I kind of like that perspective.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So speaking of Xfce, there's some exciting news here. The Xfce 4.20.
I saw this part, Nate. Actually.
Pre-1 release wallpaper contest for Xfce 4.20. So for those of you that are huge into the Xfce world and you eat, breathe, and live and
Nate,
sleep. Yes.
Speaking of 4.20, let me interject real quick. I saw the release date for it.
It's planned for December 15th. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's part of the article. So they're happy to announce this release. The looks like Alex Kahn's software development blog. 4.20 Pre-1 is a platform pre-release which gives early adopters the possibility to test the new release and check for compatibility. Further implications for the Pre-1 release, in order to increase stability, no new features will be added to the Xfce core components until the final release. We will not add any new strings either, so in order to give translators the possibility to reach a complete translation for the final release. A detailed interview with the major changes introduced in 4.20 will be given for the final release planned for December 15th. This includes Xfce core components. The tarballs for building it can be found, and there's a link in the article. So though you might prefer to wait for distribution-specific development packages, there is a wallpaper contest for Xfce 4.20. So like for 4.18, they like to ask the Xfce community to contribute a few wallpapers. Everyone will have the opportunity to vote on them to elect a new default wallpaper for Xfce 4.20. If you possess the required skills, your contribution would be greatly appreciated. Like the old Xfce wallpapers, the new wallpaper should be a vector graphic with an unmodified Xfce mouse on it and some fancy shapes. What constitutes a fancy shape? I don't know, but that's a requirement. Note that the image must be all yours and needs to be licensed under the CC BY SA, so it's Creative Commons by something attribution share alike, I think 4.0. If you do not specify a license on your post, we will assume that that's what you're using for the license. The image should not mention the software, FOSS, or proprietary use used to create the wallpaper in the meta info. The deadline for submission is the 15th of November. Like that, we will have 2 weeks left for voting and integration of the new wallpaper into the Xfce pre-2 release. In order to participate, take a look at the Xfce wallpaper contest GitHub issue. Please note that this year only the heart emoji will be considered as an upvote in order to simplify vote counting. You can upvote as many wallpapers as you like. So anybody here going to contribute a wallpaper design? No?
I got a few, but not specifically for Xfce.
Maybe Cruz will.
I
He
was
looks creative.
considering that. I just don't have one that I've, crafted to go that route.
Well, but Ben knows sometimes I just like to make images and photo editors. Just something I do. But
now to
I
wrestle the
don't know.
jimmies. How many of these are going to be AI generated?
Yeah, just ask me to make you a Xfce wallpaper and then submit it.
Yeah, I'll look into
Never
that.
submitted one. It'd be AI generated because I don't make wallpapers.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're listing this with this release of Xfce, but there was something the Xfce team was doing that might interest people. So with this, with the proliferation of Wayland and concerns with compatibility, Xfce was actually working on their own translation library between X apps and Wayland apps. So as far as I know, they're the only desktop environment doing something like that, where your old X apps that haven't been made compatible with Wayland will be able to work through this translation library. But this was just like an early alpha thing that they were talking about. I don't know if it's in this release or not, but it was in the roadmap, something that they were considering doing. So,
Well, I'll work on an AI generated Xfce thing.
Work on, you mean ask?
Just ask your
I'll
AI.
ask it to make something killer for their release. Yeah.
Say you want some
Either
fancy
way,
shapes.
Yeah, I'll figure something out for them.
Might as well just ask AI to make a country song about poop or something,
Well, I'm gonna get on that probably after the show, but either way, we will see where that goes. So anyway.
All right. I think we have time for one more article before we get into the housekeeping. This is
housekeeping time, baby.
Housekeeping, want me fluff pillow?
Please no. So OpenAI launches a ChatGPT with search taking Google head on. So
I have
that's
I've
gotta
yet
be
to try
interesting.
the ChatGPT search myself, but this actually seems like less of a taking Google on than it does taking Perplexity on. If you're familiar with that service,
I'm not.
Perplexity is a similar service where it basically does web searches of multiple sources and then sort of gives you a GPT summary, right, of the stuff that it finds. So it's a little more reliable than just asking like a generic chatbot like ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that. Provides the sources and things. You can limit it the type of source. There's a lot of features. It's a great service. But the main thing is this brings up the idea that the AI competition has more to do with the deep pockets than it does innovation. Because Perplexity has kind of been doing this for a little bit, but they're a startup, smaller thing. They're burning VC money, right?
Sure.
OpenAI's got Microsoft money and other people's money, and like that's really it, right? If they just bring out ChatGPT search, it doesn't even have to be the better product. It just has to outlast Perplexity's runway. And that sucks, but I don't really think it's a Google competitor so much as it is a way of OpenAI throwing their weight around to stomp out similar, smaller organizations.
I mean, is there anybody that really competes with Google?
Speaking of AI, did you hear the latest craziness where the systems that controlled the launch of nuclear weapons, they're going to put it with AI or something now? That seems like, that seems like a fantastic idea.
I say, they're giving it, they're handing it right over the Skynet and saying, "Nuke us all."
Did
People
you
suck.
hear about
Well,
that?
blow-
I heard
I've
about
seen.
that earlier.
Listen,
Yeah, I'm
I've
gonna need
seen
a
war
source for
games.
that, Matt.
I've seen war
Mhm.
games. It turns
Would you
out
like
fine.
to play a game?
It turns out fine. Don't worry about it. Just play tic-tac-toe with it, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, that's all you got to do.
Okay, so one of the biggest bummers about the modern internet has been the decline of Google search. Once an essential part of using the web is now a shadow of its former self, full of SEO-fueled junk and AI-generated spam. On Thursday, OpenAI announced more AI-generated stuff. There a new feature in ChatGPT that could potentially replace Google search for some people, an upgraded web search capability for its AI assistant that provides answers with source attribution during conversations. This feature, officially called ChatGPT with Search, makes web search automatically based on user questions with an option to manually trigger searches through a new web search icon. OpenAI hopes the new compatibility will streamline web searching by eliminating the need for multiple searches and link exploration that traditional search engines sometimes require. Users can ask follow-up questions with ChatGPT, considering the context of the entire conversation to provide answers. So each search result in ChatGPT comes with a citation link. The users can click a sources button beneath responses to view reference materials in a sidebar that pops up beside the chat history. So that's actually pretty cool. Now, I've used several of these chat AI things, and I personally find ChatGPT the worst. It's
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I
I haven't
agree with
used any personally. Don't like I have done Google searches. On the top of the page is AI generated responses. And I'm just like, no, I don't want you. I only want to listen to you or read you or whatever. Give me the real responses.
So for those of us who do use AI stuff, I do find that the Gemini stuff that Google has created is a little more reasonable with its responses. Still, you gotta manage expectations with all of these. But I found in my experience that finding an LLM that is fit for the actual task at hand is more important. So something like a ChatGPT or a Gemini would be really great for creative brainstorming, thought-based things. But I use Claude 3.5 for like coding stuff, for example, and so because it's a much better model for that. I find that kind of helps with getting better results. It's a matter of learning the new tools. Like it's just really just you gotta learn how to use them and which ones to use, and it's a whole new thing. So I feel like a lot of people get drawn to the defaults, right? That everyone knows ChatGPT, so it's like, oh, I'll just use ChatGPT, and there's actually so much more out there that are probably better suited for the task you're trying to accomplish. And
so the one I tend to
that's
use
just how
most
it
is the Llama 3 from Meta. I have that
Meta's
running.
model's pretty good.
Yeah, I have it running locally, and so if I have a question how to solve a problem, that seems to work pretty well. I've tried ChatGPT on several occasions, and it either makes stuff up that's just completely off the wall, and it doesn't it's not helpful at all. But
Or it tells you to put like glue on pizza or some crazy stuff like that.
that's because it's watching too many TikTok videos. But the Llama 3, I really enjoy using that one, and it's very polite, and I tend to, when I interact with it, always say thank you and I appreciate your help, stuff like that. And it just the way it responds, it makes me happy. So it's I don't know, it's like a great assistant. I haven't used those that you talked about, Adam, but I can't say. But I tend to like if I can self-host it, that's what I prefer.
I can understand that. A lot of times I'm doing this stuff for work, so I can't just self-host AI stuff at work.
In my experience, I think different ones are better at different things. So like he mentioned Google Gemini. I think that one's really good if you're just looking for information. It can be very detailed in its answers for like an information lookup. But if you're trying to use one of these things as like a more like a conversation type thing, it's really not the best one, but it's great for information lookups.
So Bentley, who's here in the Zoom, put in the chat, says, "I've taken to self-hosting my own search. Much happier with the results." Yeah, I believe it. I that's something I haven't really thought to do, but maybe someday, I suppose. CDMS PT says, "What's next? Toilet paper with AI?" Well, I can see some benefits there. Like if it can tell if there's something wrong with you, like through your poo, Then you don't have to take it to your doctor later. You can just ask the toilet paper. Although it'd probably lie to you too. So anyway, well, good times. All right. Well, we do have
Toilet
to talk.
paper. I used the 3 seashells.
Oh yeah.
Yep. The 3 shells.
Delightful. Well, we should do some get into the housekeeping.
That was a
And-
Demolition Man reference.
I never saw that one. I'm sorry. So
Glad somebody got it.
I got it. I knew right away.
Yep.
I don't know. Never saw it.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sometimes culturally a little bit, disconnected. So next week is an
Watch
application
it. Good movie.
at Demolition Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good movie.
Okay. Can I watch it with my kids?
Yep.
I would call it PG-13.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe my oldest, who's 13.
Yeah.
Anyway, next week is application appetizer. I don't think there's anything that Demolition Man related out there, unless there is, in which then that'd be really funny. But are there any applications that anyone here has played with or been working with at all that you'd like for like the whole class to try? Adam, Jindo, Swift, Cruz.
Wait, what was the question?
Not
Any
really.
like applications that you've used that you'd like to share with the class? Something kind of cool to try.
In general?
Not really recently at all.
No?
I can't think of any off the top of my head that I've used lately that were new.
Yeah, nothing new. I mean, just the old school stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I don't know.
I know you guys aren't coding people, but I got into the cursor editor.
Yeah, that's
That's
awesome.
pretty neat.
That is cool.
Cursor's really cool.
Oh yeah.
It's like a VS Code fork where it's kind of built with AI editing in mind, and
We recently did that
it's
one.
actually really nice. What's that?
We recently did that one.
Cursor? Really?
I think so.
Hmm.
I think it was like just general editors, but Cursor was one of them.
I have an
That's
idea.
fine. What's that, Ben?
Well, this is one that we made for StormOS custom, but I want to suggest it.
Okay.
I don't know how many of us might benefit from this, but dang it. What was it? It's NVIDIA Run. And what it is it runs off the back end of NVIDIA Prime, and it speeds up and helps the use of applications with NVIDIA. So, like, say for example, you're running something with the iGPU, like the onboard graphics, and you want to run, say, like a game or a heavy graphics application or any application for that matter off your discrete graphics. Well, this program will actually help you do that. And this is just something I felt would be kind of nice to look at,
That's a pretty good thing to have because dual graphics is still a challenge on a lot of Linux distributions.
Yeah, dual graphics, hybrid graphics, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking this might be a nice thing for us to check out,
Well, I don't have anything with NVIDIA on it currently. Everything I have is
No, I know.
not.
It was just
And is it available on other things besides StormOS?
well, I can ask Seeker to give me the application and we could throw it up on like our source port or something. So that way if people on other distributions, want to download and take a look at it, that's something we can look into,
So I have an idea, something a little more general that we can do.
A little more general sense of that. Yeah.
So that's like a system resource tool. So
Sure.
there have been like a quite the torrent of system resource type tools out there. I think one of them was actually just one of them was suggested. The was I don't think on Flat Hub that was suggested. That was the TLP. that Seeker suggested.
That is a good idea. TLP, that's
And,
actually a more general consensus app.
Right. So what I mean is like if you have any like really cool, or if you want to go like on an application like dive on FlatHub or something, they have different neat little resource tools out there. So there's just one called Resources that keeps an eye on your system resources.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So it might be fun just to like maybe do some exploring in that regard.
Well, we actually did make another app called TLP UI. Actually,
That's
and
pretty
that
cool.
runs off the back end of TLP. Actually,
So, as far as the application, I was thinking about lately, Mindtest has actually changed their name to Luanti, and I'm very interested in this program. I came across it years ago, and like everything else, like Blender and GIMP, I've been meaning to really get good at it, but life just doesn't seem to work in that direction. So I just thought that'd be something interesting to look at.
So the new Mindtest or whatever.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. I don't know how many. That one's probably a little more involved, but it'll be fun to do like a gaming one again. And we have any other thoughts? No.
I mean, either that one or
bored.
Caliber might be easier. If that interests anybody.
Calibre, because we did that one not too long ago.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Why don't we just do that? We'll make it simple. So any like system resource applications that you might use that you find on FlatHub that maybe might be common in a lot of distributions. So things like a little tool that makes using your system. It could be like it's a broad area. So if it's for power management, or if it's for system monitoring or any other resource tool, bring it up next week, showcase it, how it works. We can even like if you want to do like the screen sharing thing, we can probably make that work as well. So you can demonstrate it if you want to. Or whatnot. So maybe we'll do that. Anybody, any objections? If not, I'll be searching some of those for funsies. All right. So next week, system resource applications. Anything you find, look on FlatHub or Snap or something more universal that multiple people can try. And then on the Telegram and the Discord, if you would like to just like share maybe what you're using, that'd be kind of cool. Like we get other people to push something that we can try. The more interaction, I think, the better on that one.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's next week for the application appetizer. I'm going to be updating the Google Calendar for Linux Saloon since we talked about getting away from Google. I got a Google Calendar, and then I'll be, because with the holidays coming up, I'll have it on there like which weeks we're not going to be doing Linux Saloon because if I have other things going on. Bow out and whatnot. So, but also if you have any suggestions like distributions or topics, applications, poll ideas, send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com, or you can tag Eris, myself, or just somewhere in the Telegram or Discord to try something, and we'll put it on our list of things to try. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go. Since last week we had the issue with our. I had an issue with the internet.
I was saying R.
Last week. So what happened was last week.
Show got
Jason Starbuck decided to send
show
a
up for
worm.
once, and then the internet's.
And then we had a connection incident.
Blow up.
I decided
my
to show
internet.
up, and then they decided to end the stream early because of my face. Okay,
Oh God.
That's actually the real reason why I couldn't tolerate your face
God.
last week. It was getting late, and the whole fallback thing. I was gonna have an extra hour of sleep, and like it was just messing me up. So anyway, that being said, Community FreePore, StormOS. Last week, just to pick it up, if you were upset last week or whatever, because everything shut off.
No,
but
it's
we talked about.
It's not your fault, Nate.
I'm saying I don't care if you're upset.
He pulled the plug. He pulled the plug.
I was like,
No,
oh my gosh. So we got
it's
the
not
history
your
of
fault,
StormOS. You got like a great background. So and a lot of us tried StormOS, and for those of us that actually tried StormOS, that was here. I kind of want to like maybe give some feedback to the StormOS team. So that the first ISO I tried, that one didn't install, but you knew that, and that was corrected pretty quickly.
We
So
fixed that. Yeah.
Yep. So I'll go back here to my notes from last week, and
Yeah. There was a lot of hilarity around the October release initially.
Yep, and anyway, so I thought it was pretty good. I did have some issues with like the there's the StormOS baked in app, like the
Oh, you mean the system tool?
Yeah, I did have a few issues with that, and maybe it was just like my not that it didn't work, but more like some of the wording and phrasing was kind of was like it was definitely not geared to a non-Arch user. So I don't know, maybe you might want to look at some of that and say like
we'll look into making that a little bit more dumbed down.
Yeah, dumb it down. Think like 8th grader.
We'll see if we can do that.
And not average, and more like average 8th grader, not nerd 8th grader.
8th grader language, yeah.
Right. So like everything in the Army is all like 8th grade level geared, like how they word it.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll let the guys know about that.
But anyway, that would be my only criticism.
That was the only concern.
Yeah. And then but as far as that was kind of it. Now, if someone wanted to install Flatpak applications, because AUR, there's like
we actually already did address that in the November version. We actually brought PAMAC back in favor of Octopi because the issue there was the issue of Flatpak, and plus the fact we had some complaints about the easiness of Flatpak, and snaps and things like that were not available with Octopi, so we decided to cut out Octopi and put PAMAC all in favor of that because it was just, we couldn't easily implement that, and plus AUR support was another thing that was brought to my attention, so we swapped that out.
Okay. So that'd be the only other thing. Anybody else have any other comments, concerns for the StormOS team?
Well, I know Colin also had some installation qualms as well, and again, that's been addressed, and the November release should be a lot smoother with that.
So I have a couple of questions, like kind of going forward with StormOS. So it's Arch-based.
Sure. Correct.
Right. So one of the problems with Arch-based distributions is things can break if you don't necessarily read through the release logs and whatnot. So do you have any way of like addressing that or mitigating some of maybe the lack of durability?
Well, what we do is at least once or twice a month, we throw an ISO up to keep up with updates. And I'm sure Matt will attest to this. If you don't do your updates, you're not gonna. If you don't do your updates, stuff's gonna break. And we aim to get stuff out around the first week of the month because that's when Arch updates their vanilla ISOs. And we don't want to skip that initial week because if we do, there's going to be a slew of updates and there's going to be a lot of package conflicts and just a lot of things that if you don't stay on top of Arch, it's going to screw it up and it'll be a lot harder to just sort of put, a new release out that's fresh and that's going to work. So we need to stay on top of that and make sure everything is up to date, like Calamaris, the base packages, the desktop, the etc., in order to keep that fresh base. Isn't that right, Matt?
Yeah, just look at what Manjaro has been doing and do the opposite, and you'll be
right. Exactly, and that's like, like I said last week when we started out with, his original idea of Arch by MM and then bringing it to Hackman and etc. You know, we were trying to break that dependency, that bridge on Manjaro, and put something in sort of the middleman. You know, we wanted to break that middleman chain on Manjaro and put it, just cut away the middleman and go directly to the source, and that's what we did.
All
You
right,
know,
so
we went. Go ahead.
I guess my question is, do you have a way of mitigating, like if somebody doesn't update for, let's say, a month? Can they get away
That's
with
what essentially we did with all the different maintenance buttons in the system tool, was we put that in there exactly for that reason. We put, you know, the key fix and the you know, all those update things we put in there in order to sort of mitigate that problem, you know, to simplify the problems that people run into if they don't know what the heck they're doing with Arch. Because, you know, there are times where people forget to update at least, you know, a couple times a day, a couple times a week, whatever. If they do forget to update by any means of the word, those little toggles are on there to fix that, is what we did.
Okay.
So.
Well, Nate, I've been on Arch Linux for quite a long time. I've gone like a month without updating. Everything's fine. There's only been, like, in the last 3-4 years for me, there was one incident where people had a boot issue. I managed to get around that because I didn't update straight away. But at the end of the day, if you want to run Arch, you really you either blindly update.
You have to know the terminal, don't you, Colin?
Not really. No.
Well, it depends on what you're using for Arch. If you're using straight Arch,
straight up Arch Linux.
Straight up, yeah, you need to know. You're probably better off knowing the command line. Otherwise, depending on the way you built it.
If you're using a derivative like Storm, or you're using Endeavor OS, something like that, it's not required, but it's good to have a little bit.
If you're making your own Arch Linux installation, starting from scratch, you obviously got to start off from the command line because you got to get everything. But once you get everything, you use it less. You can use it less. You can make your own GUI and whatever.
One thing that I would suggest people do, and this is true with any distro that follows the Arch repos, the stock Arch repos, is you should probably look at the Arch mailing list and check the Arch Linux blog, because sometimes whenever there's an update to Arch Linux, you have to have some manual intervention to prevent some issues. It doesn't happen very often, but occasionally it does. And if you're using anything that's built on top of Arch, it could potentially affect you. So it's just a good idea for anyone on any Arch-based distro to just follow that mailing list, just in case there is something.
Just in case something goes haywire. Yeah.
Have you got a link to that in Storm OS?
What, the Arch mailing list?
Tools?
Well, not right now, but we will push a repo update with an updated version of the system tool that will have better wording and better, as well as the mailing list linked in there.
As long as there's some information, I think, which is what Nate's getting at, that somebody could probably read before updating, just in case there is an issue. For me,
we will look into adding the because adding the mailing list might be a good idea. Go ahead, Matt.
There is an RSS feed plugin in Xfce. You could probably just tie it into that. That might.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Ariel says
just put that down.
Be in testing.
Just put the feeder down on the panel by default, and then if there's something, just
like an RSS reader. Yeah.
Then if something comes up, you could just push it as a notification.
So I guess my concern is, like, if let's say I had several machines, and then maybe some I don't use very often. And then would StormOS not be recommended for something like that then?
If they have multiple machines and they don't update them too frequently, like Colin said, if Arch used to be where if you didn't run system updates frequently, it would go bust. But that, like he said, in the past 3 or 4 years, there's only been one or so instance where something went bad. But again, as long as you're on top of it, I don't think it'll be a big deal, really.
In my experience,
Go ahead.
in my experience, Arch has been a lot more stable in the last few years than it has been in the past. They've kind of figured it out, and with distros that stray, that the farther you stray away from what Arch is, the more you introduce the potential for
challenges.
So, like Manjaro is a perfect example of this. They decide to hold back packages for 2 weeks for stability. Okay, that sounds great, but then when they put the AUR access in there, well, now you have mismatched packages, and then things break more often. So when if you follow what Arch is doing in your distro in lockstep, like if mainline Arch does this, well, you should do that too, because that's the way the developers intended. And when you do that, typically things don't really break in Arch. Occasionally, you'll have some configuration stuff that requires manual intervention, but this is going to be true with any rolling release. Most recently in Arch, there was an issue with Pac-Man that when it went to version 7, if you had a local repo, the symlink for that would break, and you would just it was just one single command that you'd put in there to fix it. I mean, that's it. Arch is not as fragile as it used to be. It's forever maturing, and it just gets time.
Right.
He's
right about that because
this Surface Go here, Nate. I took it to Bali, but I didn't use it for 3 months. It's running Arch GNOME. I didn't update, and it ran fine and did well for me over in Bali.
That's impressive, Colin. You put Arch on your tablet?
Yep.
Oh my God.
The most recent problem
is sick, man.
The most recent problem that I've experienced with Arch wasn't technically with Arch itself, it's with the Arch install script. And Ben was asking me about this before the show started earlier, if they had fixed it yet. I don't know. But what happened was they released the monthly ISO for Arch, and whatever is in Python, whatever got updated, it no longer works with the Arch install script. So when it gets to installing Pipewire, it just breaks. And the solution to this is to just, if you just read in the forums even a little bit, it just tells you to grab the Arch install master from GitHub. Just go do the install git, do the wget, point it there, and then just run Arch install again, and then it fixes it.
It's nothing too overly hectic. No.
Arch.
I've never tried a straight Arch install, like from the command line, make my own stuff.
Yeah.
Oh
I did my
I've done
stuff.
that before.
I haven't tried that. I haven't been brave enough yet. I pretty much, when I decided I wanted to try that, Arch in general, I decided just to go with Manjaro. And
the
no
first time,
there.
The first time you do Arch the Arch way, it's tedious, but once you learn it and do it a couple of times, it almost becomes muscle memory.
It's a good way to learn the command line, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a good way to learn command line installing. Yeah.
Well, at this point, when I do Arch, I barely even look at what I'm doing. I just it's just muscle memory at this point.
It's just like boom.
But then when
I'm a lazy Linux user. I like to have it right there.
Well,
I will say this at most,
that's why I have all of these. These I'm making a mess. All of these drives have Clonezilla images on them of Arch and Debian and everything else. So if I get bored with what I'm doing, I just plug this in and run Clonezilla and just go do something else.
Clone something over.
I have the honor and privilege of having multiple. Yes, keeps going. Machines, like in this room alone, I have my Windows machine, my server, my Mac. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Linux machines. Just in this room alone, not including the 3 laptops are sitting in my closet because they all have different distros on the Kali and whatnot.
I have 7 computers in this room, but the newest one of them, I think the CPU was made in like 2010. So I got a lot of hardware. Yeah, I have a lot of hardware, but it's all ancient.
My
So-
newest machine is probably the Mac Mini, which is a 2020 M1. Actually, no, probably the newest machine is probably my iMac. It's an M2.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, this laptop next to me is 16
iMac,
years old.
iPad.
But and I got Debian on it, runs fine. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what's on this
Did that answer your
old girl right
question, mate?
here.
Yeah.
This right here is the MX Linux.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good. I just my concern with just Arch in general is the but if it's better now, it's more durable. It's just I haven't had a hard time keeping an Arch install
Well,
working.
I will say, Nate, Normal S and any other generic Arch derivative would be a good entry point for anyone to learn about Arch. You know, because because the goal with Stormal S is to be one, a good entryway to it and easy maintenance. Because that's essentially what we're trying to do as a group is to make Arch as simple as we can and easy to maintain. That's all we're trying to do.
I think the good rule of thumb these days for keeping an Arch Linux installation stable is try not to use the AUR unless you absolutely have to.
Yes.
These days, with the introduction of flat packs and things like that, this is a whole lot easier than it used to be because you have a whole bunch of different approaches you get stuff.
And that's why, again, we brought back PAMAC because it simplifies all that.
Yeah, so I would say limit your AUR use unless you absolutely need it, and just keep an eye on the Arch Linux blogs and mailing list in case there is a botched update. You'll know about it, and you can just not update until they fix it.
Right.
So
and next month,
if you just do those things, generally Arch is gonna be okay. It's not this huge.
It's not overly hard like it used to be some years ago.
Well, a couple years ago, it was totally possible to install a round of updates on your Arch system and then it suddenly not boot anymore. That hasn't happened for quite a while. It's
the only system I've ever had that happen on is on my classic Mac Pro when I had Mint on it.
Yeah.
And anytime I tried to update the kernel on the Mint system, it would just break the system, and then I ended up installing Fedora on it, and Fedora I could update any. I'm on the most latest kernel on it. It works fine. So something Mint did their thing, it didn't work.
Now this what I'm about to say may be controversial, but I find it easier to break Debian than I do to find it to break Arch. It's easier to break Debian than it is to break Arch. But
you got to try. If you're breaking Debian, you have to make effort. That's
Yeah, well, Debian is rock solid stable if you leave it the way the developers made it.
Want it to be.
The moment you go in there and start tweaking stuff, it will blow up real quick. Arch is a lot more forgiving. You can separate the meta packages from their host. You can split up everything in Pac-Man. It's a lot more forgiving. And for example, I remember back when I was still using Xfce, you would install Debian with Xfce. It would come with the entire GNOME suite of games. If you wanted to uninstall that, and you would go into like Synaptic or After whatever and uninstall it, it was tied to the desktop environment as a meta package. So you go and install Isle Riot Solitaire, and it just decides to uninstall your whole desktop environment. That kind of that was something that would happen.
That's very true. Yeah.
That kind of thing doesn't happen on Arch because you can just Pac-Man RS and just pick that one single package out of the group and it'll just pull it out. It's not a big deal. But it's I don't know. I think Arch is still evolving. I mean, it's been around a while, but I think their developers have broken it enough times that they've learned how not to do that anymore. I think that's basically the way I would put it.
They've really streamlined and stabilized their package production. They really have.
Yeah, and if you're on something like Manjaro, like if you don't understand how to do Arch the Arch way, Manjaro could introduce you to it, but I find Manjaro a lot less stable than just Arch proper because they take too many liberties with the packages and it gets messy after a while.
Yeah.
But one thing that's interesting
Yep.
is Manjaro has stable testing and unstable branches. If you go on Manjaro and flip the switch in the package manager to the unstable branch, it's syncing directly with the Arch repos, and then you're basically just running Arch with Manjaro packages on it. So that could be one way to get a new user introduced to Arch, but personally, I have some real issues with Manjaro. I would never recommend it to someone. But
So-
see, I've been using Manjaro for a couple of years now. Zero issues.
So
I
Patrick
used to
Logan
be a
says
Manjaro
Arch
fan.
more forgiving than Debian. Nah.
yeah, well,
I mean,
it's-
all this is all speculative and personal
Yeah.
opinion and user
Well,
case.
I think the problem
Yeah.
with Debian is the way they tie so many things into meta packages, and that makes it easy to break. If they could separate the meta packages, it'd probably be okay.
We
But
think so.
I used to love Manjaro, though. I used to be a Manjaro fanboy until it just. I used Manjaro since it was still a beta project. I used it since
Yeah.
version 0.9.6, way back when, and it was a great distro back then. But I think
When
I think what I would describe it, I would say that they are a victim of their own success. They got popular quickly, and I don't think that they had the developers had the experience or the manpower to keep up with the demand. And then they stretched themselves too thin by trying to have all these different flavors, and then they got into hardware and all this other stuff. I don't know. I think they just got too big for their own britches, as they say in the South.
Yeah.
Night, Colin.
Yeah.
Night, Colin.
All right. We'll see you,
Or-
Colin.
Good day, Colin. I guess at this
Well,
point.
it's a time for the last one anyway. Before you go, Colin, did you
Alright.
have anything you want to say about like anything going on,
Songs.
new videos or anything like that you're doing? Any...
No, I've got nothing going on right now.
Okay.
No.
That's okay.
Colin the actor in the new movies.
Yeah, the new movies. Colin stars in his in his audio biography.
And people ask me all the time, though, why I
He's-
run so many different distros, and I say each one has a different package manager, and they're like, why? I'm like, to learn.
All right. So Steve's very own, he was in the that's it, his last call time. He was in the chat.
Was he?
He didn't actually say and he didn't actually join us, but you know, it's kind of he always claims he's too busy. That's all right.
I just like to watch. Okay, that's what he says. I just like to watch.
Yeah.
He just
says
likes
something like
to
that.
watch. Okay.
Anyway, he has he's been doing a lot of streaming now, and so like I caught him on a Friday. He's very reliably has on Sunday. I don't know how many days he has now that he does each week. I think he seems like he's doing fun, cool things with OBS. And the coolest thing is if you earn enough points by watching him, you can fart on him, or punch him. And that's pretty cool. There's other little commands you can do. It costs you some points, so you have to put in some time to be able to do that. If you haven't checked out the latest Linux Future Space, make sure you do that. I'm on a podcast called Linux Out Loud, so make sure you check that out. It's kind of a Linux jawing show, basically. Days Vintage Apple Tech. Jason Starbuck, he's a
Yes.
part of that, and he visits here from time to time as well. He's actually joined us once. That was fun. And I have a website called cubiclenate.com. I write articles. I've been working on some stuff. It's been about a week since I published anything, but yeah, anytime I figure something out, but I've been working on something very intently for the last couple of weeks, so I gotta make sure I get that done. Anybody else have anything they wanted to plug real quick before we cut it off? Nope. Okay.
I don't think so.
So Linux Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network, so check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. I want to thank you all for your support, however you do it, being a part of the conversation in both the Zoom meeting here and the YouTube stream, as well as for everyone for watching the show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved in making the Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back in a personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time. See yous.
Good night, people.